The national president, Edna Perrin, was there for the installation of our chapter, so full circle. This is our time to really celebrate ourselves, especially since we're active members during the Centennial, and celebrate Chi Delta. I love knowing that the Delta love we feel for each other is the same love that has been felt for literally 100 years. And even though our house was built in the 30s, I feel like it is a huge part of the perpetual bond of friendship that we all share. Me and my mom always laugh and say, if walls could talk, oh, the stories they would tell. And this is so true. A few months ago, when we were going through old scrapbooks and scanning pictures for the Centennial yearbook, we noticed a few things. The first was we noticed how much time changes things. The hair, the clothes, the furniture, and the quality of pictures all stood out to us. But the most important thing we noticed was how much things have really stayed the same. We still get all excited getting ready for functions, and initiation, and pledging, and composites. We still hang out together and talk about boys. We still cry over boys. and we all still celebrate just being together. And this is something that will never change. But this Delta love goes beyond the big green house. It is a sisterhood and a friendship for life, and I can say this with complete confidence because I have seen how happy and excited some of our alumni are when they get to be together after months or years apart. I'm so thrilled that over 1,000 alumni and collegiates are going to be here in Fayetteville to celebrate Delta Iota Centennial this weekend. And before I go, I just wanted to share a little bit of Delta Iota trivia with you. A total of 3,581 Delta Iotas have been initiated at the University of Arkansas. Delta Iota was the 49th chapter of Delta Delta Delta. We were the first Tri-Delt chapter to have a Miss America in 1964. The Delta Iota chapter of Delta 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 was the 4th national sorority on the U of A campus. And the Delta House, as y'all know, was built during the Great Depression. Okay, so here's some decade facts. My God, I think this is pretty funny. Tri-Delta was known at the U of A from a local sorority, Alpha Epsilon. All students then lived in dorms or boarding houses. And as I said before, Edna Perrin was there, the national president at the time was there for the installation of our chapter. In the 20s, first, the students arrived in Fayetteville by train, which I think is so funny to even think about now, because like the roads you have to take to get here. The first homecoming queen at the University of Arkansas was crowned in 1921, and she was a Tri-Delt. And then in the 30s, as you know, the Tri-Delt house was built, and the year it was built, only 5 Tri-Delts were able to come back to school and be Tri-Delts because of the Great Depression and how, like, no one had any money to come back to school. And the original house comfortably accommodated 30 women. In the 40s, numerous weddings took place when the Delta Iota members' boyfriends returned from World War II. Naturally. In the 50s, some new traditions began, like pledge debut, faculty tea, apple polishing party, firesides, and candlelights. And in the 60s, the Tri-Delta Moms Club donated the piano to us. In the 1970s is when functions began, and I know this is shocking to everyone, functions. And we got our first color television in 1972. In the 80s, the Tri-Delta Club was donated at the Union Mall, which still looks like it's from the 80s. It's still stuck there. It's nice to see on campus passing it. In the 1990s, email finally arrived on the campus, and Delta Iota Study Hall had one computer, and it was dial-up internet connection. Imagine doing homework on that. In the 2000s, several Delta Iota members were crowned homecoming queen. Tri-Delta won every Greek competition on campus in 2004, so it became known as the Year of the Delta. And in the 2010s, Delta Iota became the largest chapter in the nation, which y'all know, which is awesome. Delta Iota alumna Amy Crane is crowned as Arkansas, and Delta Iota became the top fundraising champion for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And lastly, Phyllis Grissom, the Tri-Delta National President, is here celebrating with us. So, anyway, yay, Tri-Delta.
as a lifetime membership advisor. Although when she was there, she was called recruitment advisor. Upon graduation from SMU, she traveled all over North America visiting Tri-Delta chapters as a field consultant. She helped start the chapter at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina. From 2000 to 2006, she was employed by Tri-Delta as the editor of the Trident. During that time, she directed a significant design upgrade in the magazine that ultimately extended across all of Tri-Delta's communications platforms. Phyllis lives in Fort Worth, Texas, with her husband Brian and their 2 children, Grant and Allison. Grant is 10 years old and Allison is 7. She enjoys working in the yard, reading, and entertaining friends and family in her home. We are so excited to have her here, so please give her a warm welcome, Ms. Phyllis Griffin.
So hey, glad to be here. This is so exciting. When I first heard that Arkansas was going to have its Centennial celebration, I was thinking about the other chapters in Tri-Delta that will be celebrating. You know, this is Tri-Delta's 125th anniversary, just coming up for Founders Day. We'll be celebrating 125 years. So Tri-Delta's 25th anniversary was a big year. Texas has just been founded, Wyoming had been founded, you guys have been founded, and it's pretty remarkable when a chapter has been around for 100 years. Especially when you think about the facts that they were sharing about that after the Great Depression, only 5 people came back. We're like, vampire, we weren't sure we were going to make it. But it's pretty amazing when a chapter has persisted over 100 years. So I'm so happy to be here. You all are setting the bar for future Centennial celebrations because Paige has so ably organized my schedule. Kenny and Lisa and have organized such a great weekend for your alumni. They've been so organized, so enthusiastic. I don't think you all have left any stone unturned. Everything has been thought of, and I know that chapters who are looking forward to celebrating a Centennial will be giving some of you all a call to find out how you pulled it off. It's pretty remarkable. And I was thinking about it as I was on the plane. I think tomorrow night when I'm with the group of 900, it'll probably be the biggest group of Tri-Deltas I've ever been in.
Wow.
When we're together at a convention, we're only about 600 or 700. So if we have 900 tomorrow night, we'll be the biggest group of Tri-Deltas that I've ever been with. So that's pretty exciting to break that record. We'll have to tweet about that. So I thought just tonight I want to do a couple things. I'll talk a little bit about my role as fraternity president. I'll just talk a little bit about Tri-Delta with you, and then I want to open the floor for questions. Whatever questions you have about Tri-Delta, about service to the fraternity, about other things that I've seen in my travels, I'd be happy to answer any questions. So be thinking about your burning questions, because I want to hear from you all. I think the things that I wanted to share with you just about myself and my role as fraternity president, I'll just kind of answer the most frequently asked questions. You know, how do you become fraternity president? Well, I did work for Tri-Delta. I was the editor of the magazine for a little bit, and I took a break from working to be home with my kids, and then the Leadership Development Committee for Tri-Delta, which is the group of women that select Tri-Delta's leadership, they called and said, would you like to be on our executive board? And that's a group of 5 women. We're all volunteers. You get elected for 2-year terms, and you can serve on the executive board for 3 terms. You can become president, and you can serve for an additional 2 terms as president. So I served on the board for a term, and then they called and said, well, would you like to be fraternity president? I was like, well, are you sure you want me to do it? Kind of like when you're in the chapter, they ask you to be an officer. It's like, really? Was there no one else that could do this for me? Come on, you can't be me. But they said, yes, we want you to do it. I said, I'd love to, but I need to call my husband, because I got to get his buy-in, and I need to call my mother-in-law, because she will be my backup for my 2 kids when I have to travel, when I'm out of town. And as you all mentioned, I have a 10-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. They're probably trick-or-treating right now, dressed up as a zombie and a tiger running around the neighborhood. But I do have a lot of support from home. Like I said, my husband is very supportive of the work that I do, and my mother-in-law and my mom fill in very capably when I have to be away from home. I'm usually away from home on the weekends. If you think there are 16 weekends in the fall term, I have been